Yo, it's Fernando. Shouts out to Valley Views, man. They played me on the station. I was like, let me make you a jingle. So this is my jingle I made for them. This is what I had to do. This is Valley Views. This is what I had to do. This is Valley Views. Come me singing like, hey, hey, hey. So what you want? Come me singing like, hey, hey, hey. So what you want? Come me singing like, hey, hey, hey.
All right, folks, we are back. We are back here. Once again, this is your host, Hector, on Valley Views on KROJ 101.5 FM here in the San Fernando Valley. And once again, we are today, Thursday, March 10th, 2022. We are running our first edition of the Meet the Candidates 2022. And we now have another one of our candidates that is here in the via Zoom today. And we have Rob Wilcox, who's a candidate for LA City Controller. First of all, Rob, how are you this evening?
Doing great, Hector. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and to your listeners and viewers, and look forward to a dynamic, terrific conversation tonight.
Yes, absolutely. And so you are running for city controller. And, before we get into that, maybe let our audience know, for those that might not know, what does that role entail for the city, which we have, a city that has a city budget a little over $11 billion. But tell us a little bit about, first of all, what is that role of the controller?
Well, the city controller is probably one of the most consequential offices, one of three citywide elected offices: the mayor, the city attorney, the city controller. And I know that many people in Los Angeles aren't really sure of what a city controller does. And very simply, the city controller is the truth teller, the inspector general, asking and answering the questions: how are we doing and how can we do it better? The taxpayer's watchdog, because the city controller is the chief auditor of the city of Los Angeles. I can go in as controller and audit anything that city dollars run through, any entity, any program, any outside contractor, and to see if we are actually achieving the results that we set out to do. And government is very good sometimes at setting up a program or a department and then walking away. That's where the controller comes in to say, hey, look, let's see, is it working? Are there any problems? And let's come forward with solutions to fix those problems. And that's what I'm going to do as controller.
Excellent. Thank you for that explanation there. And with that, why have you yourself then decided to jump into this race for city controller?
Well, first of all, I believe this is probably the most important city election in nearly 50 years, since the election of Tom Bradley for mayor in 1973. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Like you, Hector, and those listening and watching tonight, I love Los Angeles, but sometimes I don't recognize it. We are a city in crisis. In this election, LA's future is on the ballot. And that is why I'm running, because I know the power and the possibilities of the controller's office. Because for over 7 years, I served as deputy city controller to then controller Laura Chick. And we were there, we made important changes in the way the city works. And we brought greater transparency and accountability. And I want to do that and hit the ground running on day one.
Yes, absolutely. And then what about when it comes to, for example, we here in the city of LA for years now, we've definitely seen it, skyrocket when it comes to the pandemic and folks experiencing, either housing insecurity. We have our unhoused neighbors pretty much all over our city now. And also, just in general, the homeless crisis that we have. Years ago, we had the Prop HHH and others, type of tax incentives, or taxes to kind of help out with our unhoused neighbors' homeless crisis. How do you see your role as the potentially next city controller to address homelessness, unhoused neighbors crisis that we have been facing?
Well, Hector, that's a great question because homelessness is priority number one. We have nearly the most recent count, which has been a couple of years ago, is that 45,000 individuals on any given night are unhoused in the city of Los Angeles. That is reprehensible. That cannot be. And just recently, there was another count that was undertaken. We will know the results in a few months. And unfortunately, I hear, and so the estimates are that it's going to have increased, even though, as you've mentioned, we've put a lot of resources, including folks that went to the ballot. The public overwhelmingly approved two measures. One was a sales tax increase, and the other was HHH, which you mentioned, which was a bond measure. And our controller, Ron Galperin, I'm going to build on his work, but he has done an annual audit of Prop HHH, and we find that it is not meeting the goals it was intended. We've got now, it's been 5 years since it was passed, and I think there's something like just over 1,000 units that have been housing units for homeless individuals that have been completed. We're way behind, and we need to do better. And as controller, I will hold our elected officials' feet to the fire to make sure that we fix the problems in HHH. And also, I'm going to present, we have a great opportunity because we have a new mayor who will be elected. And I want to be the partner of that mayor to help the mayor solve the homelessness crisis. And I will present to the mayor a comprehensive plan. We know what's not working. Costs are too high. It's too slow. We've got to really streamline the process to make it faster, to make it more cost effective, to build these units, and to do it now. And I will present to the mayor a comprehensive plan on homelessness.
And yeah, you raise a good point. With new mayor, there's going to be also, a different type of dynamic there in City Hall. And what about when it comes to, we have, of course, inflation that for some seems like it's already getting out of hand. Of course, gas prices have skyrocketed for, a variety of reasons, including what's going on overseas in Ukraine with Russia. And, even prior to that, of course, we have both housing as well as just prices in general, right, going up, grocery stores, et cetera. So, when it comes to small businesses in general and economic development here in the city, there's a variety of different economic development and small business programs. And so how do you see yourself in that role as city controller to, help out small businesses and really spark economic development that really is fair and really equitable across our city?
There's a lot of good stuff in that question, Hector. And you mentioned a little bit earlier, it's the pandemic. And the pandemic is going to take a while for us to be able to fully recover, especially economically. And then when you're saying the economic crises of inflation, especially our underserved communities of color are suffering. Los Angeles is just too expensive. And number one, you mentioned housing. I will put together a housing cabinet that we're just not going to go in and do an audit and walk away. But this housing cabinet of housing activists and affordable housing developers, folks from our universities, neighborhood leaders, and our small businesses to come together to make sure that we're looking at not just homeless housing, but affordable housing. We have to do a much better job at providing affordable housing in the city. We are way behind. We can do a better job, and the controller can lead the way in coming up with the ideas and working with the folks that I'm going to bring in on this cabinet and to look at best practices in other cities that are doing a better job than we're doing. And, we look at too often, it's council district by council district. I think that we have the opportunity to do a citywide vision that it needs to be not for certain areas or certain neighborhoods, but citywide. And that's why I am eager to work with whoever is the new mayor. And I believe that of the candidates that are running, that they all believe that we can do better, as I do better than we're doing now. And they believe in the change. And I'm going to help bring that change.
Yeah. And, speaking of that change, there's been a lot of folks that, when we talk about the city budget, I think a little bit over 46% of the city budget of that, $11 billion or so, about 46% or so is spent on fire and police. And, as far as public safety, there's been, definitely conversations, that started, a while ago, but definitely highlighted in 2020. And
sure.
In your website, you talk about, the LAPD is a bloated bureaucracy, and you as controller would like to root out that waste. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, and I will tell you, I believe that the city in general, when you talk about earlier the budget and our departments and the way the city operates, I believe is a bloated bureaucracy throughout, not only the LAPD. So we're going to go in and we're going to look at reforming the police department. I believe that our police serve a very important function. And I hear this also, especially from the underserved communities of color, that they want their neighborhoods safe and they want to trust the police. They want to have that kind of relationship, and we must guarantee that. But our police should be focused on violent crime, keeping our neighborhoods safe. Too often our LAPD sworn officers are going out and doing things that civilians could be doing. There doesn't need to be a sworn officer in dealing with homeless individuals and homeless encampments and the mentally ill. We've got to do a better job at providing trained social workers and mental health professionals and putting them on the street, not our sworn officers, to do that job. So I want to free up our police to do what they need to do, especially with violent crime, as we have seen a rise. And I've talked to people all across the city that feel unsafe. And many people are scared. You may have read, Hector, and some of your viewers and listeners tonight saw in the newspaper or on television that just a few weeks ago, I was a victim of violent crime. I was coming back about 2 blocks from where I work in the Civic Center near City Hall. And I had gotten a sandwich and was coming back to the office in broad daylight. In front of the LAPD Communication Center, I was attacked, was pushed, shoved, kicked by someone clearly who was mentally ill and probably suffering from homelessness. We have not only failed our communities, we failed that individual. And it's not about arresting him. It's about getting him the help. We failed him. And we need to make sure we have a significant population living on our streets today that suffer from mental illness. And we have to get serious to make sure that we are providing those services and the ability to, because they are not only a danger to Angelenos, they are a danger to themselves. So we failed them. We have to do a better job on that. And when you talk about in reforming the police department, and the controller can help lead the way in doing that, but you also talk about fire. Time and again, this happened in the 1990s. It happened when I was in the controller's office, when there were issues of harassment and hazing and discrimination. And we found a lot of problems when we went in and made recommendations for change. And there were changes, but then over time, it's really about changing the culture of the fire department. I remember, and I'm a proud member of the LGBTQ community. And I remember back 15 years ago that there wasn't one single out member of the fire department. It's too often been, these stations have been frat houses. The fire department does an incredible job. at fighting fires and keeping us safe, and our EMTs going out on emergency calls. But we have to make sure that we change the culture, and that we also, I will go in and I will look at the culture and how we can improve it. We've got a great opportunity because Chief Crowley is coming in, the first female chief of the fire department. I want to work with her. I want to be her partner, and I want to change the culture of the fire department. And I want to look at how we're recruiting in communities of color, for women, and also our LGBTQ community. We've got to change it.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing some of that, and also for sharing, a little bit of your own personal, incident that you had as well. And, as we are just kind of wrapping it up here, what are some of your final thoughts for our audience related to your candidacy for LA City Controller?
Again, Hector, thank you so much for having me here tonight. And I just want to stress how important this election is, and how important the controller's office is at mapping change for our city. This is a change election. We cannot go the route of status quo any longer. Now, if you believe that we're on the right track, then I'm not your candidate. But if you believe that we need to have fundamental change, that there are better ways that we can do this, that LA's best days, and I believe this fervently, LA's best days are ahead of us. Please join me, and you can go to Rob for Controller, Rob, F-O-R, controller.com. I'm not raising hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is a grassroots campaign, and I need the people to join me, and please join me, and go to my website, find out more about me, email me. I would love to have a conversation with you.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Rob Wilcox, for being here with us. Rob Wilcox is a LA City candidate for the controller. And to our listening audience, we just want to thank you for being here with us. And we'll be right back after this musical break.
Thanks, Hector.
Yo, it's Fernando. Shouts out to Valley Views, man. They played me on the station. I was like, let me make you a jingle. So this is my jingle I made for them. This is what I have to do. This is Valley Views. This is what I have to do. This is Valley Views. Got me singing like, eh, eh, eh. So what you want? Got me singing like, eh, eh, eh. So what you want? Got me singing like, eh, eh, eh. So what you want? Got me singing like, eh, eh, eh. So what you want? I wasn't tripping when I lost my job. No reason to lie to my mom. Now I've got 8, 9 to 5, y'all. I was like, right on, right on, right on. No work on weekends, eh? I'm waking up early, sleep at 8. I think I'm surely